everybody, it's Hexa, and today we are wearing my Don't Happy Be Worry shirt, which means we're going to be talking about some mental health stuff and some deep shit, and today specifically we're going to be talking about how shit hit the fan in my life. I'm not going to go into any details because I don't think it's relevant to the actual content of this video, but recently I hit an all-time low. Something terrible, absolutely terrible happened in my life, and I felt like I had hit my worst case scenario. Like, my worst case scenario had unfolded. The most terrible, horrible, scary thing that could happen happened, and surprisingly, I feel a lot better than I have in months. And I thought that was crazy and so surprising, and I was so amazed and impressed and confused as to why now suddenly, when something so bad happened, I'm doing okay-er. I'm still not doing great. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that my anxiety has pretty much taken over my entire life in the last year. And I've stopped doing any of the things that I enjoy because of my anxiety. And it's still hard, and my anxiety is still really bad. But I feel like this nuclear bomb that was set off upon my life has somehow just given me this glimpse of clarity and this moment of truth and of hope and of foresight that has now enabled me to start looking at the bigger picture and start thinking about my recovery and my future and why and how I need to get better and to change and to get over this terrible part of my life. I think there's just something really strangely liberating and freeing and amazing about hitting rock bottom, because once you hit bottom, there's no place to go but up. So, you know, there's really nothing to be afraid of once your worst case scenario unfolds and you feel like things just cannot possibly get worse. Because once you hit that point, it's like, what do you have to be afraid of anymore? Nothing seems scary anymore. Nothing seems risky or dangerous anymore, because if the worst of the worst has already happened, what the hell else could go wrong, you know? And, you know, I had hit an all-time low in terms of my anxiety in general, but this new all-time low was, you know, an all-time low on my life as well. And I just feel like I can't get any worse. You know, like, I don't ever leave the house by myself. I don't do anything anymore. I don't see anyone anymore. I just am so lonely and closed off, and I'm a total hermit, and I'm trapped in my own home. I'm trapped in my own mind. So, like, as far as at least anxiety goes, it can't get worse. Like, okay, if I decide to, fall into a full-blown psychosis, that I would probably categorize as worse. But as far as my anxiety disorder, this is as bad as it can possibly get. I don't feel like, at least for me, it is possible for me to get any worse than I am right now. And that means that from this point forward, I can only get better. And that is an amazing thing. And that is something that I need to work on, and I need to hold on to that fact. I recently watched the Netflix movie To the Bone. I'm sure you guys have at least heard of it. It's basically the story of a 20-year-old anorexic girl named Ellen, who later changes her name to Eli, and just her journey to recovery and all of the struggles she goes through with her eating disorder, and you know, the people she meets along the way and how they're struggling and all of this stuff. And at one point in the movie, spoiler alert, maybe not really, but kind of. Okay, it's a spoiler alert. At one point in the movie, basically, you know, she runs away from the recovery home, the home where she is, where she's supposed to be feeding herself and getting better from her eating disorder. She runs away and she just, you know, I don't know, she hits bottom. She hits bottom, and then her family show up and talk to her psychologist, and they're like super, super concerned, and he's just telling them that for a lot of our patients, we don't let them hit bottom. But for a person like Eli, bottom is crucial. And it's only after she hits bottom that she suddenly sees the light and gets this revelation of, I want to live and I want to get better. And I feel like I'm a lot like that. Anytime that I have really bounced back well from mental illness has been directly following something terrible happening in my life. The way I look at it is that a phoenix can only rise from the ashes, and that's how I see myself, as a phoenix, and that reassures me a lot, and that gives me a lot of hope in this moment, because I feel like all around me is just ashes, but I can grow from that, and I feel like I can actually start making positive change now that I've had that revelation that if things can't get worse, I'm gonna make them better. Moving on from that, something that I don't know if I've talked about on this channel before, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but for many, many years now, I have wanted to be kind of like a motivational speaker. I've wanted to write music to help people with their mental illness and with their struggles. I've wanted to do talks and, be a motivational speaker. I've wanted to write a self-help book. And if you look at all of the most amazing, successful, motivational, and inspirational people in this world, they have all gone through some really terrible stuff. Oprah, she was born into poverty, she was raped and got pregnant when she was 14 years old, and she's fucking Oprah, she has come so incredibly far and made so much of herself and her life, and is one of the most famous and successful and amazing people that we know in pop culture these days. Tony Robbins, who is a world-renowned life coach, he was born into a broken home with an abusive mother who I believe was also alcoholic. I can't remember, but I think he mentioned in one of his interviews or documentary that his mom was an alcoholic, or is an alcoholic. And he's a highly, highly successful life coach. He has a beautiful family. He lives in an amazing, huge mansion on the beach. He gets to travel the world and do all of these amazing things. And he came from a really bad home. Tim Ferriss, who is an entrepreneur and an author and inspires so many people to improve their lives and their businesses and everything, he was born premature. He had breathing difficulties all of his life because of that, and problems with his lungs, and he suffered from depression, and he had planned to commit suicide at one point. And yet he manages to inspire so many people, and he has successful businesses here and there, and he has made something of himself. And all of these people are, the best of the best, and what all of us look up to and what all of us want to become, and they have gone through some serious hardships. And I think that the takeaway from that is that a true success story is one where nobody ever expected you to succeed. I feel like if you want to be a motivational speaker, and if you want to be someone who inspires people who are dealing with some really horrible things in their lives, you have to have been there first. And I want to be a motivational speaker, and I want to write a self-help book, and I want to inspire people, and I want to help people. And so I've just decided and come to terms within myself, in my heart, that the terrible hardships that I'm going through right now and that I have gone through for the past few years of my life have been crucial and are necessary, are a necessary part of my journey. And if I hadn't gone through these things, I would never be able to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish in my life. Because, if you're a motivational speaker, but you were born into a really wealthy family, and you never had any mental illness, any health problem that got in your way, if everything ran smoothly for you all your life, yes, you can be successful. And you can tell people, you know, look at me, I did it, so you can too. But why on earth should they believe you? Because you have nothing in common with them. If, you know, if people are going through hardship, they don't need somebody who has never gone through hardship to tell them it's gonna be okay. They need somebody who they can relate to. They need somebody who knows what it's like to be where they are right now to tell them, I know how you feel because I've been there myself, and I can tell you from my personal experience, which is really similar to yours, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that you can come back from this, you can recover, and you can still make something amazing out of your life. And so I'm not mad. I'm not bitter, and I'm not upset, and I don't regret any of the terrible, terrible, horrible, difficult things that have happened in my life, because I know that all of them are leading up to where I'm supposed to be, or at least where I want to be. And now, you know, it's my job to take those lemons and to make lemonade. And it is my job to rise from those ashes so that one day I can do what I've always wanted to do and inspire people and teach people and help people to overcome their own demons. There are so many incredible quotes that I can throw at you guys to describe this experience and to encompass this concept and this idea, but I think the simplest way to say it is that it's always darkest before the dawn. And you know, when things are really, really bad, and when things are really, really hard, and you just cannot see your way out of it, it's so easy to get depressed. And it's so easy to fall into that trap where you are miserable. And there's a lot of videos I want to make on this topic because I've struggled with a lot of different things in my life, and I want to finally talk about all of them and finally open up about all of those things. But there's been lots of times in my life where I thought about suicide a lot, but I never wanted to die. I wanted to live, and I want to live. I will always want to live, because so many people have bullied me and been mean to me and doubted me, and I think the worst thing I can possibly do is to let those people be right. And, you know, wiping myself off the face of the earth is never going to be a solution, and it's not a solution for you either. You need to persevere, because death is the worst thing that can happen. Being dead, there is no coming back from that. There is no way to grow from that. As long as you still have air and breath in your lungs, and your heart is still beating, and your brain is still working, you have a chance to move up. You have a chance to recover and to get better and to make a complete turnaround in your life. And you know, there's been people who were practically brain dead and in a coma for the longest time, and somehow they still, like, you know, came out of that coma and recovered past the point of, you know, science. There's been some amazing medical anomalies where people should have died, but they didn't. And there's been, you know, I guarantee there is someone in this world whose depression is worse than yours, whose mental illness is worse than yours, whose health is worse than yours, and who has somehow recovered and made something of themselves. And if you end your life and you leave this earth, you erase that opportunity and that chance to be the person who is an inspiration, to be the person who does something that is amazing. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, and I'm not saying you're gonna enjoy it. It's probably gonna be really hard, but all of the things worth doing are hard. And if the universe grants you the privilege of hitting rock bottom, do not waste it. Rock bottom is a blessing, and rock bottom is a gift, because you cannot possibly get any worse than you're doing right now, except if you kill yourself, except if you're dead. That's like the worst thing that can actually happen. But I would urge you to not do that, and I would urge you to not give up and not get to that point, because you can do it. And people who have been struggling worse than you are have done it. And there's always a solution, and you don't always have to see it. You don't have to know 100% every single step of the way of how you're going to get to where you get to where you want to get, and to where you are destined to get. I often think that my life is going to end in suicide, because when I picture my future, I can't see my life past a certain point. And for the longest time, I thought that was because I'm not going to recover from my mental illness. I thought that was because I'm not going to get better. I thought that was because I would reach a point where I had to give up. But that's not the case. The reason why I can't see past a certain point and a certain age is just because I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to do the things that I want to do. And I don't have to know. I just have to survive. And I just have to live, and I just have to be patient and wait and just take life as it comes, and, you know, be resilient and be resourceful and spontaneous and be able to manage whatever life throws at me. There's gonna be some terrible, terrible times in life, and they're gonna make you want to give up. But if you don't give up, and if you persevere and you work, those terrible, terrible times in life will turn out to be your greatest blessings, because you'll be able to look back on that, and whenever you're struggling with anything, and say, if I could do that, if I could survive that, I can survive anything. I don't even know where this video is going. I feel like it's a lot different from anything that I've ever filmed before, but that's pretty much just what I wanted to tell you guys, that when life falls apart, that is where your true journey begins. You get a fresh start. When everything is ashes and everything has fallen apart, you get a fresh start. And every single thing that you do from this point forward is on you. It's your responsibility. Whether you have a tough time or an easy time from now on, it's on you. And it's, you know, life throws horrible things at everybody. Some more than others. And some people fall beneath the weight of it, and some people fly. And you get to choose which one you're gonna be. You get to choose when you feel depression and hopelessness sit on your chest and knock the breath out of you. You get to choose to take a deep breath in and let it out. Exhale the darkness and exhale the depression and just let it out. Just kick it out of your life. And, you know, feed on whatever emotion you need to feed on. I'm not saying that you have to be like grateful for every single thing, although you should be grateful for a lot of things. Be grateful as much as you possibly can, because gratitude is incredibly important and is so good for your overall sense of happiness. But whatever emotion you're feeling, whatever negativity you have, if there is a way that you can use it, use it. Use that feeling. So for me, I've always been a pretty angry person. You know, I don't think I realized it for a long time, but I am a pretty angry person. And some of my greatest accomplishments have been because of my anger. You know, in 10th grade, I failed chemistry the entire year. I was doing terribly in chemistry. I hated chemistry. I couldn't understand it at all. I freaking hated chemistry, and I still hate chemistry. And, you know, one day probably like a month before the final exams, my teacher told me, "You are going to fail." He was just like, "You are going to fail. With how you've been doing all year, you're going to fail." And I got mad. I got so mad and so angry at him for daring to say such a thing to me that I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck that. I'm gonna prove you wrong. And, you know, I still hated chemistry, but I was like, you know what? I have to do good. I have to do a good job because this fucker told me I was going to fail, and I'm going to prove him wrong because that's not okay, and you don't get to say that to me and get away with it. And I sat myself down and I studied and I studied and I studied my chemistry, and I got the hang of it. And, you know, I wish I could say that I got like an A+ on the final exam. I didn't. I got a B, but I didn't fail. I got a good grade, you know, and I proved that teacher wrong. And I was amazed with myself because, you know, even though I did work really hard to try to do as well as I could on that exam, I still didn't fully believe that I was going to pass it. I was still kind of like, there's still so much I don't get, and there's still so much I'm having trouble with, and oh God, what if all this studying is for nothing? But it wasn't. And I got a good grade, and I got to show that person that they were wrong and that I wasn't going to fail and that I could do whatever I set my mind to. So if you've got that kind of anger in your soul, or anything really, any kind of fuel that you have, even if it's negative, try to use it in a positive way. Use it, take it in a positive direction, and use it to help you move forward. And if you've got negativity in your soul that you can't make a good use for and you can't use towards the greater good and towards a positive goal, then discard it. Let it go. Just forget about it and don't let that control you. You don't need that in your life, and you can make the choice to let it go. And I know you probably hate hearing that because you're like, you know, if you're struggling really badly with a mental illness or anything like that, you're like, I can't just choose to not have a mental illness. And I completely understand that. And I completely understand that it's frustrating to hear somebody say that you can just choose to not have a mental illness, because nobody would choose that. But I want to tell you that as somebody who also has a mental illness that has taken over my life and destroyed everything in its path, you can't choose everything, but you can choose some of it. You can't necessarily choose how the chemicals in your brain make you feel, but you can choose the way that you react to it. You can choose your behavior, even if it goes against every instinct in your body. You can make that choice to not let your mental illness ruin your life and take over everything. So in my relationship to my anxiety, after this terrible, horrible, really, really bad thing happened, I got angry. And I saw my anxiety for the bully that it is. And I decided I'm gonna fight it. And I'm gonna fight tooth and nail until I chase it out of my mind. And I don't know how long it's gonna take. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to chase it fully out of my mind. But I know that it can't get any worse. And that the things that I am afraid of are pretty much just as bad as what's going to happen if nothing changes. Tim Ferriss has this exercise called fear setting, where you write down the things that you're afraid of doing and just really, really dwell on those things, and then think about what is your future going to be like if you don't take action. And in my case, so you do, 6 months, 1 year, and 3 years. You look into your future and you think, if I don't change anything, what is my future going to be like in 6 months, in 1 year, and in 3 years? And for me, if everything stays exactly the same as it is right now and I don't fight my anxiety, within 3 years, I'll be homeless. I won't get any further education. I'll be living off government funds probably. And I won't have any friends. I won't have any relationships in my life. I'll lose touch with my family. Everything will fall apart. And if I do take action, because I also wanted to think about that, what would happen if I do take action? What would happen if I do all of the things that scare the crap out of me? Within 3 years, I could be better. You know, I could be recovered. I could be working. I could have a job. I could have my own apartment. I could be going to university. I could be in a band. I could be performing. I could be doing all of these things that I love and that I want to do and that I should be doing. And as far as anxiety, you know, my worst fear is that I have a brain aneurysm that's gonna kill me at any moment. I don't have a brain aneurysm. No doctor has ever found a brain aneurysm in my head, but I have this irrational fear of that. So I'm scared that I'm just gonna drop dead one day from a ruptured brain aneurysm, or from a tumor, or from a heart attack, or from a blood clot, all kinds of stuff. I have all these fears about my health. I have these fears of embarrassing myself, of fainting in public, of throwing up in public, of whatever. But you know what? A brain aneurysm would probably destroy my quality of life the same amount as just continuing to live my life the way I am right now. Neither of those two things are good. But I have the power to change the outcome of my life. I don't have the power to control whether or not I have a brain aneurysm at some point. I don't have the power to decide if I'm gonna die tomorrow, but I do have the power to decide that I'm not gonna let my fear of death stop me from living. And that's another video all in itself about anxiety and fear of death. That's something else that I really want to talk about. But for now, that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. When everything falls apart, you have been given an incredible blessing and an incredible opportunity to rebuild your entire life and existence from the ground up. And weirdly enough, I'm kind of happy. Like, I don't feel amazing. I'm not the happiest I've ever been, but I'm happy and I'm hopeful and I feel okay. You know, I don't feel depressed. I get depressed sometimes and I cry sometimes, but I don't have depression. I don't feel depressed every day, all the time. I feel hopeful that I have an opportunity to change, and that whatever I do from this point forward, it can't get any worse. I've already faced the worst. I've already survived the worst. So there's nothing left to be afraid of. I hope one day I will get to look back on this video and tell you guys that I made it and that I am a motivational speaker and I did write that self-help book and I did build that band and write that music that saves lives and inspires people to fight their demons. And I think I will. I think I will do those things. And I believe in myself, and so should you. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. It was very rambly and a little bit like crazy and random, but I really hope that you found some value in some of the things I said. And please let me know if you want me to talk about any other mental health related things. I would really, really love to do that and to help you guys out as much as I possibly can. I'm also thinking of starting like an anxiety vlog, vlogging and documenting my recovery and all of the things that I do to brave my anxiety, face my fears, and recover from my mental illness. So let me know if you guys would be interested in an anxiety vlog. I think that would be fun. If you like this video, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat for more, and you can donate to my Patreon down below to support me and my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!